challenges, but I'm going to go back to the challenge that I'm putting on you guys, and that is to create 3 images that fit together in some way. And I think that you're going to see a lot of ideas. I'm going to go through them quickly, but please ask me questions. What holds the series together? There are 4 unifying elements that should be a common thing for each of the 3 photographs. It's the thing that makes them fit together. I wanted to start by showing you this series that I started back in 1995, but I'm still continuing it to this very day. These were images that I created in my attic on 35 millimeter color slide film. And the main thing I want you to get from this is that I had no idea what I was doing. I didn't know if this low light kind of stuff that I was trying to do would work. I had built the sets and the costumes. I was using front projection, rear projection, and it was in this little tiny attic studio that I had. I was running around hitting my head on the rafters and really had never had so much fun. But the point of this is that I started with an idea. Before I even picked up my camera, I wrote the story of each character. And then through divine forces, I found people that turned out to really be somehow these characters in real life. And most of them were not people that I knew. So there was this whole intertwining of art and life that happened. And once I wrote the description, then I had the fun job to try to create it. Luna turned out was an astrologer. And so when I had this moon behind her, it was a black and white Xerox copy of an engraving of the moon that I had blown up and just stuck a hot light behind it. And somehow it looked like the real moon. But I'm painstakingly building these things. Like, so I'm having her face against the moon. I'm having her make all these little nuanced moves to get her right in the correct position. And when I was doing it, I said, there is no way this is going to work. This is the dumbest idea you've ever had. And then it worked. And from that, it gave me the confidence and the fortitude to really go off onto these tangents to create a whole series. My inspiration was also old books, Victorian era books, where you would have the engraving of the person or character on one side and then the description of them on the other. And then I wanted to have it be a book in a box. So the prints were on watercolor paper, and then the descriptions were on these overlays. So you can see it's basically an unbound book. So the next series, after I did 13 Women, of course, had to be the monsters. And these were symbols of humanity that was not very correct, right? It's like parts of ourselves that we didn't like or that were misunderstood. Again, I wrote the description facing the image. And again, the text and images had to go together. And this, though, I didn't spend as much time writing the character descriptions. I probably wrote them and photographed them, together. Well, after I had the show, the opening exhibition of the monsters, I found this book that I had made in the first grade. This is something that had been in my mind this entire time. I did not remember making this. But when I found it, I was like, oh my gosh, it's totally the monster series. So from back when I was a creepy child in first grade, I still had this idea of the goblin and that visual in my mind. So you can go back into any idea that you've had and really make it into your photography. You don't have to just go out and find something. It's fine to do that. But if you have an idea that you really want to illustrate, I really empower you to do it. It's great fun. So those were just two examples of bodies of work that I've done. I'm going to show you a lot of different things, but only in the umbrella of how it fits into the four elements. If you have a pen and paper and you want to write down some ideas for your four elements, that would be a good thing to do, because this is for you to choose four things that you can then combine to create your images. The first one is choosing your tonality or color palette to unite your series. And that's going to have a lot to do with the mood. This is like a cyanotype. It's not really a true cyanotype. I just toned it very cool and blue to match her detached attitude. And this is sort of a warm, buttery vision. We're using window light, but still warming it up to make it have a different kind of feel. So when you're shooting, you can use warming filters. You can do all kinds of things, of course, as you know, in post-production, but you have control to make the tonality what it is. This is real life. This is what it really looked like on a cloudy day, and the only thing growing were these strange yellow flowers everywhere. So this is full true color, but it's very limited color palette just because it happened to be that way. So I'm always looking for that. I'm always looking for some color, but not full blown. At twilight and in the early morning, the sky can have sort of a blue or purple cast. In this case, I just increased the saturation, and that's what made it look so freakishly purple. It did not look this purple, obviously, in real life, but it was there. And all I did was increase the saturation, and I got a different kind of tonality. So the second thing you can do is set your image ratio and stick with it. I mean, keep it the same for all three images. So this is a 4x5. You can see the film edge. That's actually shot with a medium format camera. And 4x5 is cool. It does not have the beautiful harmonies to me that the 2:3 ratio does. This is the format of 35 millimeter film, and it subdivides beautifully. So anytime you compose with this and get your shapes and subject and lines and everything close within this frame, you will start to have these wonderful harmonies start to happen. My other favorite is the square. A perfect square, not eyeballed or just almost a square, but like a true perfect square, is wonderful to compose with. If you want to do a panorama, then just start connecting squares together. Any combination is going to have this kind of harmonic thing that I'm talking about. This was a series that I did that shot vertically. It's a digital image. The top and bottom edge is the top and bottom of my sensor. Now, I'm printing this on really, really tall sheets of metal. It's 6 feet tall by 3 feet wide. So I don't want to lose any pixels, right, on the top and bottom. So I know I'm going to lose a sliver on each side when I print on this material. So it's a square on top of a square. Number 3, keeping the quality of light from one image to the next. So by that I mean if you go out on a cloudy day and take a shot, and you go out on a super sunny day and take a shot, they're not going to fit together. I mean, if your series is about a place on 3 different kinds of days, 3 different kinds of light, that's totally fine. But I'm very aware of tonality and the quality of light and what it's doing when it's hitting your subject. So this is afternoon sunlight, and it has this real buttery tone. I'm using a setting inside my camera. I think it's the Fuji X-T1, and you can set tonalities to have kind of this warm glow, which I really enjoy for portraits. This is infrared on a very hard sunny day with a solid blue sky and dark shadows. And real life would not have really been that interesting. So the fact that I used infrared really saved the day and made this a more interesting kind of contrasty kind of image. Well, this next shot is the same exact place, totally different time of day, time of the year, and there's fog. Anytime I have fog, I am so happy. And anytime you see fog, please go out and take pictures anywhere of anything, and it will be beautiful. It's truly this glamour filter on the world. So if you were going to do a series like this and this, it's 2 different, totally different types of day. So it may be good to do the entire image, the entire series of images on the same day if possible. This was an exercise in creating very appetizing light and using light like you would see in a Renaissance painting. And this was on the Cortona, Italy workshop. We had been looking at Renaissance paintings of food. And so the challenge was, how could we make a photograph and have it look that way? And I know you were talking about food photography. If you want to do Renaissance food photography, this is a great way. Just using a hot light and having that be the only light source. And the real secret of this photo is it's taken in a mirror, in an old mirror where the silver was coming off and it was kind of spotty. So I'm actually photographing the reflection. Number 4, being consistent with your lens and your viewpoint. And so by that, I mean, if you're photographing 3 things, you probably want to use the same lens and be about the same distance from your subject. So this was a series that sort of happened by accident. I saw these surface patterns happening, and the water was very dark, you know, with tannins in the water. So it was this almost like this black mirror-like reflection. So if I zoomed all the way out and shot wide open, being very careful to focus on the surface of the water, I got all of these cool kind of stained glass looking patterns. I had an exhibition. There were 5 images. I went back to this place again, and I couldn't do it. It was not like this at all. I even went back a year later on the exact same day, and it did not look like this at all. So if something cool is happening and you want to get more than one image that fits together, then you better make it work, because there's no guarantee when you go back that it's going to be the same. This is just an example of close-up, macro, any kind of thing that you want to do with nature, or if you are interested in a wider scene of a place, wide angle, all three of your images should have the same viewpoint. So this is an example of three different types of light. The vineyard on the left was very hard light. The middle image was partially hard, partially shadow, and then the image on the right was totally overcast. The trick for making this work together, because it all had to look like it fit together, right? But you're at different places, different times of the year. I really depended on infrared to get this tonality. And it's a digital camera that is, when the sensor is changed to infrared. And that really saved the day, because if you were looking at this in full color, the tonality of these three images would look totally different. And really, you could do the same thing with black and white. So then I started looking at two types of tonalities and mixing and matching. So this was for images for fall in Cortona, Italy. And I had this sort of blue-green tone and then this sort of rustic warm tone that I was creating. And so it was fun to put them together in this checkerboard pattern. These again are the big tall metal panels. And what I wanted to tell you about this, I got a grant to produce this work, to have this exhibition. And I originally wrote that I would have 7 of these Gotham goddess images. Well, I only got 5. And I wrote to the grant people and I said, gosh, I've got 5 that are really great and 2 that aren't. And they don't work. The 2 images that are the weakest ones really disempower my whole series. So is it okay if I just have 5 really good ones? And they said, yeah, sure, we don't care. So, and there you can see the 5th one. So my point is, it would be much better to have 5 that were equally as strong than to have 7 with 2 that were just kind of meh. This was a reflection technique I did in my phone, my iPhone. And all of these have ugly stuff in the bottom. There were tourists, there were trash cans, there was stuff that you didn't want to see. So the tops of all the images are exactly what's really there. The reflection mirroring technique hides the unromantic, uncool part that I did not want you to see. So the tonalities of these were created in my phone as I was shooting it, and they're printed on a matte metallic canvas, so they all fit together as a series. So at the same time, I was in Amalfi area of Italy, and I was in Pompeii. So I wanted to do a series of arches and winged creatures and statues, and this was my subject matter. But then when I got to Pompeii, I was like, Pompeii red is so cool. I cannot not have that. So this was my Instagram page. And I alternated them into this checkerboard pattern. And I love seeing them together. When you look at them all as a whole, the whole thing creates a pattern and image. of a bigger thing, right? I I think that as far as subject matter, tonality is really one of the strongest things to keep your eye moving from image to image. Again, these are squares. This was an exhibition at Mason Fine Art, and they got it up on the wall, and they said, look, you have this long wall, we got to have another one, can you bring a fifth image? And I said, well, I don't have one. And they said, well, just anything, do you have anything that's framed that same size? So I had this show that was from, not from Italy, it was from Piedmont Park, and the bottom right image, and you can see it's not the same tonality, right? I mean, that's a different tonality. There's a graininess to these. This is totally different. So I had that bottom right image. So I took it over and they put it on the wall, right? So there was 4 that fit, and then there was this odd man out image on the far right. So at the opening, there was a famous photographer who was also showing there, and she came over and just started giving me hell about this. She said, why do you have that other image on there that doesn't fit? And I totally agreed with her. I was like, you are absolutely right. And, it was the opening night, and I truly was mortified. So I was like, I'm going to get Kelly, and I'm just going to have her just take that down, right? So when I looked over, she was over by the image. So I walked over to her, and the Piedmont Park shot, she was putting a red dot on it because somebody had bought it. So I was like, yes, yes, it stays in the series. So, it's a story just to let you think about when you're exhibiting your work, and keeping keeping a theme in mind, but then also not taking it too seriously. So this was the beginning of the Atlanta Gotham series. They were portraits of buildings. And then I started to add people. I mean, I had to start adding people, right? And all of them, whether they were buildings or people, again, it was this sort of sepia, slightly saturated sepia tonality that held them together. They're all different sizes, and they had to be because they were fitting very specific areas where they were built into the walls. So they're different sizes because they had to fit very exact places. Images from Tuscany have the tonality of Florentine paper. I realized after I'd done the series that the colors in my images were the same as this famous paper from Tuscany. And luckily, I had 20 something images in this series of dogs, and it's a slightly cool black and white tonality. And because I had a bunch of them, I was able to sell the entire exhibition to be on permanent display at the Soho Espresso Bar in New York. And then I did cats, and these have a slightly colorized tonality to them. They're all squares. They have the hint of a film border. I'm not really shooting film, but that hint of the border contains the square, and I think makes all of the shapes within them more animated. Here, I was very careful to not see her feet because I wanted her to feel airborne against the clouds. So in each shot, like she was flying, I had her feet intentionally cropped off so you would not be grounded to the earth. You don't see a horizon line. You're up with her against the clouds. And then with this, I first created the shape. Sorry, that's loud. But the idea is that this would spin and the motion would move, sort of like a flip book. So I first designed this thing and then I made her fit into that shape. These were printed on silk. So I had the idea to have the image in the center. At the same time I photographed the bird, I would photograph the reflections or the sky or some pattern in nature that had the same tonalities. And then I would slice that apart and put that at the top and bottom and then sandwich the bird in the middle, and that they would be sewn into these tapestries. So they were not framed under glass. I mean, some of them were. I have sold these as individual prints, but the original show were these silk hangings, and very much inspired by Japanese scroll paintings. The nature series, all different stuff, all different kinds of subjects, but it fits together because these are all black and white. You had to see it in black and white to be able to see the shapes. So here are 3 very simple images of nature that fit together. And if you want to do a high key, very beautiful pastel colors for springtime, I mean, now is the time where all the blossoms are going to be coming out if the freeze doesn't get them. And I'm intentionally lightening each shot to make it more pastel. The tonality unites it, the subject matter unites it, and they're all squares. So I think this is a really good example of 3 in a series, united by subject, tonality, and distance. They're all macro, the distance from your subject, and they're all square format.
Robin, I wanted to ask a question.
Yay!
On the one you just flipped from,
This
how
one?
do you choose? Yeah, how do you choose if you want to frame them as 3 separate entities or put them all together in this one framing appearance?
Well, I did this to show you, but then it kind of looked cool, So this was just something. When you guys do 3 images, they do not have to be put together like this, right? I mean, you can have 3 separate slides,
But
but
they could be this way.
they could be.
Okay.
And I really want, I mean, I'm showing y'all all of this crazy stuff and trying to tell you what I was thinking about when I did it, but you can do whatever you want. I mean, you could have something be past, present, and future. You can have something that happened like a sequence in time of how something changes. Really anything. And the reason that they are all put together like this is because it's a way I can show you 3 slides in one, right? But it kind of made a neat graphic. And if you see this one, this was a exhibition that was framed. Actually, they were on they were canvas wrapped, so there were no frames. And these were hung on the wall in the gallery exactly in this order. So this was at PB&J Gallery, and the show that they would have every year was called Nine, and they would have 9 photographers, and for this one, I had 9 images. So again, they were united by square and by tonality, but they're all different scenes, they're all different places, right? But the trick of the show was that people had to guess which image had a pair. So, like, 2 images have a chair, and 2 images have trees, and there's different. Each one of these images has a uniting partner in within the 9 images, if that makes sense. Um, so did that answer your question about how the
Yeah.
images put together?
Yes, it did. Yeah.
Oh,
Thanks.
good. Oh, good, good. Your series can be a collection. You're collecting things, right? And this is a collection of something I love. And I love coffee in Italy better than anything. And there's something about that pristine moment right before you take the first sip. Because, I mean, once you take the first sip, then, it's not pretty anymore. It's not the same, but there's that anticipation. So I just started making a game of photographing the cups on the counter. So I'm about the same distance away. They all have the spoon. And it was just fun putting them together again in this grid, in this tic-tac-toe shaped grid. If you wanted to show your images like this for impact, you certainly can, but they can also be one, standalone image in a series that you see, you know, slide by slide. But the other thing I did was these were black and white, but I made them have just a slight hint of a coffee color, coffee tonality. So it's not true black and white. It has a little bit of coffee brown added. So those are just some ideas of things that I've played with. And what I want you to do is make your own rules. Now, try to stick with them. But if you get in the moment and you have to break the rules, it's okay. And you'll know, but you shouldn't say, well, it'll be easier if I just do it like this. You can't do it because it's easier or because it's more convenient or whatever. You really, really can only break your rules if you see a creative reason to do so. So basically what I'm doing is just giving you permission to really go wild here. Um, so really this is the end of my formal presentation. Um, just a quick reminder of fall workshops. October is Cortona, Italy, and then November we'll be back at Jekyll and St. Simon's. And the last thing again is to announce my weekly podcast. And a lot of the things that I'm starting to talk about in here, I'm really able to dial down into one episode. So it's very simplified. They're more examples, but it's more streamlined just to one topic. So forgive me for showing you so many different things tonight, but it was just to really give you an overview. And I would love to answer questions. If you want me to, I'll still stay in the presentation in case you want me to go back to a previous image. So does anyone have a question?
Hey Robin, this is Brian Chapman. This was phenomenal pictures. I look at so many photographers online and just different things, and it's all kind of the same thing. But this is really unique and artistic. It was fantastic. Um, And I like how you've kind of gone above and beyond. So often we think in just single images, but the additional challenge of trying to find things and make things that match, I think that's really cool. I'll also at some time, excuse me, sometime I'd be interested to learn more about how you did some of the post processing. I think that would be really interesting. Some of the techniques and stuff I thought was really cool. So really nice photos.
Well, I am thrilled to hear that. Thank you, thank you. And as much that I can do in the camera, I'm doing in camera. Of course, I'm doing post processing, but I'm very careful to try to compose full frame so that I'm seeing things. And often they're things that are true visual gifts, and they're hiding right there in plain sight. Your subject fools you and you forget, well, there's this whole other scene. Maybe there's something in there that's going to support my subject and not detract from
Robin,
my
I'll
subject.
reiterate what Brian has said, and I'll just to expand a little bit. I've known you a long time now, and I've never failed to be amazed by your eye. And it's the way you see those moments where there's just the right elements facing the right direction, fitting the compositional shape that you're working with, the aspect. I mean, just all of it. And as Brian said too, the post processing. Spectacular work. Thank you for the presentation. One quick question, because I was slow to write it down and I have an old man's memory. You covered aspect ratio, quality of light, lens, and viewpoint. Those were 2, 3, and 4. What was number 1?
Number one was dun, 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 dun. Number one
Tonality.
was tonality. Is
Thank
that
you.
right? Let's see. Number one was tonality. Yay.
Good job, Pat. Your memory is better than mine,
Brilliant.
which is not saying a hell of a lot.
Well, if anyone wants me to go back to a particular image in here, I can. Or if you want me to, I can stop sharing the screen now.
Well, this whole program is going to be I recorded it and they'll be distributed to all the members of the club when we get through with this. So if you've got any reruns you need, you've got a lifetime worth of reruns.
Well, if anybody has a question about a specific image and how I did it, then I'm saying now would be a
And
good
Robin
time.
has agreed to come back on June the 15th
Yes.
to see what we did. If anybody has some, we'll figure out how to get them submitted, and or maybe each person can share their screen at a single time. I think that would work too.
I
But
like the idea. I like the idea of them being critiqued too. That would be helpful.
Well, that is my favorite thing to do, is to talk about our work. And there should be emotion in our images. Like when I look at your work, I see your personality in the shots.
uh-oh.
And it should, yeah. And it should be that way. It's incredible thing to be able to express ourselves through visual photography. And as much as I can do in the moment I'm taking the shot, I'm going to do that. And because I'm working in a series and I know what I'm trying to do, then I'm going to be that much ahead. You know what I'm saying? Like if I know the kind of light I need, then I'm going to be on the lookout for it. If I need, directional light, if I need clouds, the series that I did with the women with the tall buildings, I had to have clouds. And we would get out there, and if the clouds went away, I was like, no, that's not going in the series. So when you make the rules and you're really, really Brett to stick with them, it really is more fun because it's for a reason. You know what I'm saying? And I look at all of your beautiful images for so many years. And the thing that excites me the most is seeing the ones where you really, really put yourself out there. And I see your persona in the work.
Well, I for one, have thought about doing a series. 5 pictures that I take are just, yeah, there it is now. I took a picture of it. But the thoughts of making a series out of this thing it's a challenge, I think. And let's see, on June the 15th, Robin has agreed to come back and talk to us about this and see what we can do. Anybody else got anything?
Yeah. Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
I'm gonna
So-
stop the recording now.